All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride, you've got nothing to lose. Join the KissFAQ YouTube channel. Member perks include exclusive song story demo bites, songs of the moment with contextual introductions, document and merchandise dives, KissFAQ board topic reaction videos, early access to channel content, and hopefully lots more. Click the join button on the KissFAQ YouTube channel or follow this link.
Hello.
All right, am I supposed to do this?
I don't know.
You do it. You drive today.
Hello, Kiss Army. Welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Today, I just want to welcome everyone who's joining us so far in the room here live. We got Max, AB, CMAC. Who else? We got
Hard Rock
Heaven, Jason Leonard, Justin Hill, G Chubb, Max Dugans or Dushins. I sorry about that. And Max, yeah, I already called you. So joining us,
and John today, Ross is now.
I'm Ken, and Julian is here, at least for a bit. Maybe I don't know how long he's going to be here. Also, Mark and Daniel, of course. I don't know if Lonnie's going to be here today, but
you never know that.
We don't know if he's going to show up. He just kind of shows up out of the middle of nowhere. So we got a lot to talk about today. But I don't know if Julian wants to report on anything. I can say that we know 2 days ago that there was the Peter Criss announcement video.
Probably let Julian do that.
I could let him talk about the whole thing. Might as well. Go ahead. Why don't you, Julian, talk about it?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for letting me be on the show. I've always wanted to appear on the KissFAQ podcast. It's been a lifelong ambition, and now I really feel like I've made it. No, obviously the Peter Criss announcement is a thing of excitement to me personally. I'm really grateful to Peter for allowing the KissFAQ to make the announcement of his new album with him, because he could have gone anywhere. But he chose to do it on a fan site that tries to represent different opinions of the fan experience, not one side of it, one that tries to be balanced, tries to do the right thing. So again, he could have gone anywhere. He could have gone to a bigger site. He could have gone to a better person as a podcaster or interviewer than me. Oh, come on. There's people with way
Person, you're a great person. That's awesome.
Well, again, there are professionals, and I'm not.
Sure, they're professionals.
Sure.
So being selected to do that and being given the opportunity,
how much did you pay him?
Really touches me.
How much did you pay?
Whatever you wanted, Daniel.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Continue.
Yeah, so the announcement is out, and Peter will be doing additional press closer to the time, and he's going to fill in all those questions that I know people have, that people want to ask. But after multiple listens to the album, I'm happy. It's exceeded my expectations. Everyone else is going to judge on their own when it comes. It's going to be an exciting time, Peter, doing the broader press for the album and answering more questions and telling more about what he's done and where he's coming from. But those are for him to say. So I won't be filling in any other details on what I've already said, other than I love Peter Criss. I love the album that he's recorded, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. I really, really am excited for it.
So from what you're saying, Julian, the album is done already, recorded and done.
Well, obviously.
I don't have that visibility into the technicalities of done, because I've heard a complete album that to a fan ears sounded fantastic, but whether the artist thinks, no, it's not mastered.
No.
Yeah, no, it has not been mastered as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But what I heard was consistent sounding across all of the tracks. So I don't know where they are in terms of the assembly line process, because as Mark knows, you record an album and then there are additional steps that you have to go to prepare
That's
it
why I'm
for
asking.
release.
Because
Yeah, I can't answer that. I'm
okay,
not.
no.
I'm
Oh, I'm
not.
just gonna say I'm gonna assume yay, because the fact of the matter is there, between the mastering and getting the pressing done, there's there's a lineup, for people to get their stuff done, right? So I'm pretty sure he's had it done. I'm just guessing. I'm not asking Julian to say anything about it. If you were to ask my guess upon that, I'd probably say yeah, because you need a bit of a head time to get that prepared and to get into the queue as it is, to get your stuff pressed and all that other things. But the only thing I wanted to just ask you is, obviously you sat down and chatted with them. Later on down the line, once the record comes out, are we going to see the rest of your discussion? Like, was there a proper interview done between you and him?
No, I did. I have not done a full interview with Peter for the album yet, by my choice, because I put Peter through the ringer of his first podcasting experience. He has not done this before. And I said, I want us to wait until closer to the time to do something on that. But I also want him to make sure that for his promotional efforts, that he's taking that stuff to the big outlets to get the word out rather than me. I'm happy to have done what I've done. And I spent so much time with Peter. It's just, I mean, I'm aghast at how much time I've spent with Peter Criss. And just a little side story. In preparation for doing this podcast, he took me to church with him.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And that is a very deep thing. It has nothing to do with anyone's spirituality or faith. That's a personal business. But when someone shares something as personal as taking you to their church, it's a deeply meaningful thing that really set us up well for doing what we put out the other day. So again, I hope that everyone is excited by it. I hope everyone's looking forward to it. I see a couple of questions about details, and again, I apologize. I'm not going to go into specifics at this time. All of that stuff is going to come out, but it needs to come from Peter. So thank you for the questions anyway.
But you can at least tell us a little bit about, how's Peter doing? Is he in good spirits? What was your impression when you met him?
All right. So, he's in fantastic spirits. He's really, really excited to have this album. And there's footage from the cutting room last night where he told people from the stage again that the album was coming. He was so excited playing me the album, and also a little nervous. Sitting in his studio with Peter Criss, at the desk, spinning knobs while we're listening, and him tapping his foot, he's singing the words to it while it's playing and blasts me back in my chair like a Maxell commercial from the old days. He was smiling the whole time. And you know what? Even as a fan with an inane grin on my face while hearing this music from start to finish, his eyes were glinting. And then he turned around to me and said, well, what did you think of it? And once I wiped the drool off my face, it was, again, it's not the first time I've sat in the studio and heard an album, but it's the first time I've had an emotional connection with the creator of that music while listening to it. And I've always told that story about when I took his 1979 demo reel into the studio and kind of the emotional response I had to hearing those demos crystal clear. This was even better because it was Peter Criss's studio this time. So again, end of is that I'm super excited about it. I sat 3 feet away from him behind the drum kit. He was working on just rehearsing the songs that he did at the cutting room the other day, or last night now, or this morning, whatever. And he was pounding away on those songs, getting ready for the cutting room, getting worn out by me for many hours, and then going to the cutting room and performing last night. And last night was just absolutely incredible. Again, for him to be honored by the Raven Foundation for a legacy award for his contributions to charity, and then for him to get up there and play. He hasn't been behind the kit in public, I believe, for a little while, so it was his first time back on the horse for a bit, but he was fantastic. And it was the songs from his life, the soundtrack to his life that he was playing last night. Wilson Pickett in the Midnight Hour. Absolutely, as a rock fan, R&B and soul is DNA to the heavier stuff that we now listen to. A little bit of help from my friend Susan Collins from Ace Frehley's solo album on backing vocals. Joey Casata, Joey Licious, as everyone knows from podcast Rock City, was sitting in on drums on that one, sharing drum duties with Matt Starr from Ace Frehley. Ace's drummer at times. And Matt was also doing some other stuff there was a lot of music last night, a lot of hardcore, badass musicians, and Peter Criss was one of them, one of many on that stage. Ricky Byrd, I mean, if I tried to remember everyone who was there last night, Corky Lang, pardon me. Corky Lang was absolutely incredible as well. And he was playing the songs that the Kiss riffs came from. So Never in My Life, Mississippi Queen, and people were starting to sing Ace songs, and it was hilarious. So again, you can see the joy on my face. I'm not a bullshitter. So I had a great time, and to see so many friends or love guns from the board, Adrian, Mike Brunn, his podcasting partner Vincent, one guy flew in from Manchester, and I can't remember your name, so I apologize, but Liverpool's better. It was again, the audience was great. This was a fundraising event, so it was a little bit different dynamic than a show. But I put up all the video that I shot last night, and I think it's 15 minutes or so of Peter Criss, his acceptance speech of the award off the cuff, no notes in front of him, heartfelt 5-minute speech. The guy can talk.
Yeah,
I know that for her firsthand.
Yeah. So you just recently put up those videos on the KissFAQ YouTube channel, or?
Yeah, I got back at 2:30 this morning from the city. Up before 8. My laptop's been malfunctioning the whole time I've been away, overheating, crashing. So I,
Damn.
to say I've been, well, it's a new laptop, a piece of shit. But I had to get that video done. I promised Joey that I was gonna film him and Peter, and the angle was just perfect where I was to get Joey and Peter same frame.
Joey Casada.
And, Joey Casada, and then a bit of Matt Starr. Just again, I love studio cats and badass musicians who can just walk up on stage, very little rehearsal, very little sound check, and just go. That is a thing to respect. And
it's not easy either.
Bernard Purdy, another fantastic, legendary drummer.
He was there?
Was there.
Oh no.
Mark or me.
Ooh.
I think it's you, Julian.
Julian's lagging.
Yeah.
But now it's back, I think.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna shut up and get offline because using a Wi-Fi like this isn't gonna work, and I like to have it smooth. So
just one final question. One final question from me, at least.
Two final questions.
Yeah, I start and then Mark. So, first of all, why do you think Peter chose you to be the one, announcing his new album? There has to be a reason.
I think I already said the answer to that. The KissFAQ is a fan site, and speaking to the fans directly is a lot better, in a sense, I guess, than going to a major media outlet. I mean, this is heart to heart in a way. Even though our community is derided in some sectors for allowing differing opinions and sometimes crassly worded ones, we still allow Kiss fans to speak their truth and squash the bugs that are there to troll, even if we can't keep them from coming back. So we allow an honest conversation. We don't force a single narrative on Kiss fans that some Facebook sites, I think, perhaps do. And again, it's a personal choice by the people who run it and the people who sign up according to those rules of what behavior is acceptable and what is not. So I'm imperfect. I've screwed up on the board plenty of times and let things go on a little bit too long or not handle things, but I still allow opinions that I don't agree with and don't like to be posted on the board. So maybe it was that. Maybe that makes it more appealing than CNN, because once it's posted anywhere, it is going to go viral, as it certainly has. And thank you to every outlet that has reposted the video. 3 Sides was very quick to repost it. I know I'm mentioning them first because people hear some of the dialogue that sometimes goes on for their criticisms of the Kiss FAQ, but they were still reposting Kiss news from me. So that's very much appreciated. It got picked up everywhere. It was on Yahoo.
It was Rolling Stone and
Rolling Stone did a separate piece that wasn't off mine.
Well,
they went separate, but it made NME, it made Billboard, and those are just the big music ones. And it continues to grow and propagate. And again, the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. I know people have a lot of questions that I can't answer. But again,
at this moment, no.
Share the excitement for a little while. We've got the excitement of an original member of Kiss releasing a solo album in 2025. More than 50 years after that first Kiss release. It's a great time to be here with all the great stuff that is coming.
Great answer, Julian. Thank you for that. I'll just comment that briefly. I think the video is great, and you have to check it out if you haven't. The listeners, it's on the KissFAQ YouTube channel. It's blowing up. It's well over 20,000 views in just a day or two. So, and now Mark's question.
All right, thank you. Jeez. So the only thing I was going to ask really quickly is pictures. Did you take any? I'm only asking because I'd love to see his studio. I love recording studios. I'd love to see what he has in it. That's the only question I had. And I'm just going to comment that to me, it's obvious why he picked you. He has he feels a connection with you, probably more than some of the other people. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm quite private on things about my relationship with Peter because, again, it's a matter of respect. And I respect him deeply. He's been an important part of the soundtrack of my life. I did get to tell him that great story of my hunt for Peter Criss solo albums, leading to me finding the 2 cassettes of Out of Control and Let Me Rock You in Singapore in 1987, and the joy I had of experiencing both of those albums, sequentially in one shot. And I know those are painful albums to look back on because of the time in which both of them were happening. But again, that's what I am. That is my fandom of Peter Criss is down to those. Did I take any photos? No, I was a guest. I wasn't looking. I saw what was, around me, my surroundings. I wasn't focusing on it. I was with Peter. So I'm not. I didn't take a single photo last night. The Ricky Burr's there, Rick Allen. I mean, I've done 2 books on Def Leppard. I didn't get a picture with that. I didn't get a picture with Rick Allen.
No.
I've got Lauren Monroe's album. Didn't get a picture with her. She's fantastic, by the way. If you ever get a chance to hear some of her stuff, she is incredible. Ricky. So again, none of those people. I think I had a picture with Adrian. I don't think I even got one with Mike. So pictures. Everything's up here, Mark. Memories. You can't put a price on them. They can't be stolen. They can't be sold.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, again, I know you're curious, but I was fixated in a little bit of awe. And when we were on the couch filming the announcement, I have never been so nervous in my life. At least since the FBI showed up at my door and wanted to have a conversation.
Not since the very first episode of the Kiss FAQ.
No, even that's it. This, rolling into one of these shows, we don't even have to comb our hair.
Now,
But you can
Yeah.
tell how nervous I was by my little add-on of the details. I don't know Piggy D details, so I had to write some notes down and everything on that. And you can kind of tell I'm reading. I just had words and stuff just to try and guide me.
I think you did great.
Yeah, good job.
I was nervous, but Peter Criss rocked
Yeah.
his very first podcast appearance, even if it was a very short announcement. He gave you the information that you need to know of what's coming.
Short but sweet.
He just said he's not going to give you any details on this stuff.
There you go. So anyway, I
right.
want to say it was to me it was well deserved that you were given the opportunity to interview and see Peter and be part of the announcement of his album. I just think, to me, you deserve it. I know, sure, there's other people out there, but I think you were the right person to go to for this, at least this beginning of his new, album and whatever follows after that.
New adventure.
His new adventure, exactly.
Well, I'm very excited to see the ride that he's on, because
Yeah, it should be cool.
this is a big deal. I'm just an idiot who's run a website for 30 years. Jesus, 30 years.
Yeah.
I think I need a mental.
Wow. Half your life.
I need
more than half your life.
That's
Yeah,
commitment.
I need a mental check on that. So I'm going to check out, guys.
Right.
Just a quick update
Yes.
on Audio Odyssey Chapter 2 came out publicly this week. Beneath the, I'm tired. So
It's excellent.
Suburban something.
yeah, Suburban Skies, which is
Yeah.
a little play on Penny Lane, because that's
Yes.
where they did the vocal for
Right.
it. Next week, I think for the masses, will be Chapter 3, which has already gone up to members only. Members only are going to get a new song of the moment tomorrow. How's that for traveling? And then there's a big Songless Stories, the follow-up to Beacon at Midnight, comes out in 2 weeks. So we're ready to celebrate the Kiss Alive 50th anniversary, and I think it'll be a fun time for fans with all the content that you guys are going to get to enjoy. Choose your favorite, go watch it. Don't be tribal, check it all out, because it's all created with love. I get my own kicks, and hopefully you enjoy it. So,
Oh, yeah.
all right, I'm gonna get off the phone and let you guys go. Have a great day. Thank you to everyone
Thank
who's
you, Julian.
Thank
tuned
you.
in. Bye now.
We'll see you. Thank you.
Wow.
That was great.
That
great.
was a great
We
thing.
got the news right from the the source. So
Yep.
We need to discuss what are our thoughts and what are our
Exactly.
expectations.
yeah, well, what are your thoughts? I mean, with this new announcement from Julian, what are your thoughts of this album, and what do you hope that will come of it for Peter?
Mark's hoping for a Metallica album. Let's hear it.
And who's we
Well,
don't know who's produced.
I'll say this.
Oh yeah, I
I've-
think we do know.
he did announce quite a few of the people that were involved
It's on
in
there.
production-wise.
Yeah.
The thing that made me excited, to be quite honest with you, is the involvement of Billy Sheehan. I mean, he's
Okay.
always been one of my favorite bass
Sure,
players.
great
Mm.
bass player.
awesome.
While I'm not expecting any crazy, four-finger tapping things on bass for this, but he's going to definitely give you a lot of, real solid hard rock play. I mean, the guy's done so many records with so many people. I mean, if you want a great example of it, there was a great video on YouTube of when he was in that. They did a special tribute cover band with Gary Sharon, Paul Gilbert, him, and Mike Portnoy doing the Who, and they did I think they did some Tommy stuff and stuff like that, and it was incredible. So he can play, more solid, straight ahead rock stuff. It's not just crazy over the top things. So I'm looking forward to that. The fact that he also used a producer that's done more current stuff, like he didn't go back to some old dinosaur producer. I don't mean to be rude about that, but he didn't go to some like a 70-year-old Vinnie Ponce or something like that. He actually went with somebody new who's done newer production. So that will give it that element that I think it'll need as well, because it's a hard rock record. Hard rock has definitely developed over the years, sonically, production-wise, all kinds of ways. So it'll definitely be an advantage to his music. And, you know, there's lots of things now that are available that can help people. You know, I know Peter can sing decently well still. He has a great sounding voice, but thanks to technology, it'll make his voice sound like fantastic, because they can correct any little things that he could have issue with or trouble with. And you know what? Don't fool yourself, people. All of your favorite singers do it. You know, I don't think there's a single singer out there that hasn't had some sort of assistance somewhere down the line. I mean, don't forget these people. Some of these musicians tour 200 days a year and then have to go in and do a record in the studio. So it takes a toll on the voice after all. So I think it's going to be a really good hard rock record. I'm looking forward to it because I think it's long overdue.
I mean, we have it'll be a guessing game, but how much do you think Peter Criss was involved in the songwriting for this album?
I think he was involved quite a bit. I mean, from the very least, he has to sing this stuff. You know what I mean? So I think melodically, from a vocal perspective, I think he's going to have a lot of say in it, because, you know, even if it's just down to him saying, I can't sing that, or that's too high for me, or this. So
you think he'll put his stamp on the album through the way he sings it, sort of?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that he's been known to be any sort of a multi-instrumentalist. He's a great drummer, obviously, and apparently he's drumming on the record. That's what Julian said, right? So, and again, with the technology that's available on nowadays, even if he doesn't have the strength that he had, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it doesn't matter, because the technology can take care of all of that. As long as he knows what he wants to play and has his fills down and knows what he's going to do, then it's going to be fine. I think it's going to sound great. And I mean, I hear Max there putting, I fucking hate auto-tuned vocals, but that's the thing. Nowadays, with the way auto-tune is, people right away, when they think auto-tune, they think of Cher and all that overly crazy vocal correcting. But, there's a lot of ways you can correct vocals through auto-tune that you would probably never even realize that it was done. That technology as well is greatly improving. Sure, should we have to use it all the time? No. That kind of stuff should just be used for just, assisting in areas that are difficult for the artist. If he can sing 90% of it himself, great, keep it that way. You know what I mean? And just use it for here and there where they need correcting. But I think, what I think he does is something similar to what Ozzy used to do. Remember the stories with Ozzy and Randy Rhoads, where Ozzy would say, I would sit down with Randy and hum him a melody, and he would take his guitar out and, start playing some guitar and go, no, how about like this? And there would be a back and forth. So I think whoever he wrote the music with or wrote the songs with, I think there could have been that dynamic there where he kind of sat down and said, I have an idea for a song that goes like this or like that. Because we know that he's been involved with lots of different people over the years writing songs.
Yeah. So
what if
I just want to say that there's a lot we don't know, but hopefully, like I said, Peter hopefully is singing every song. That's what I would want on the album. I'd want him to be playing drums on every song. I hope that's the case too, and maybe it is. And then as far as the songwriters, I think it could be a mix. He may be songwriting on some of them, or all of them. I guess there's, we don't know enough yet to really say one way or the other. So hopefully, one thing to do is keep your eye on the petercriss.net site for any updates regarding his album, because at some point they're going to have to start marketing the album and put it on. Yeah, there'll probably be a single, maybe a video, and probably at some point a pre-order down the road. I would think at least a couple months ahead of time, so it's not that far off. I mean, I know it's going to be in the fall. He said.
And just one more thing I just want to say, and I'll leave it at that. As far as any sort of technical things, but I know a lot of people in the chat here are focusing so much on this whole auto-tune thing. I mean, listen, to stop focusing so much on that. Just focus on the music. Listen to the songs. I mean, forget about auto tune and auto this and that. I mean, you think you know that the people use it. And you said Ace used it all over his record. Yeah, he did. I mean, Ace is not exactly the greatest singer either, right? But and somebody else put there and said, I'd rather have a raw. Yeah, I'd rather hear a real raw voice that's flawed. And I agree. I mean, I have no issue with that either. But I'll tell you somebody who does have issue with that, and that's probably his record label. They want to have a record that they feel that they can get behind, and that's strong, and that they want to be able to sell. And if they feel that it's not up to par, then they'll have issue with that. So you have to also realize that, like it's been said 100 times, this is not, this is the music business, not music friendship. The people want to sell this stuff, and people want to, get involved with it that way as well. So, like Ken said, I think he said it the best. We'll know more as things go down the line. We'll see what happens. Keep your eyes open on the Peter Criss site and stuff like that. And I think that it's, I think we're gonna get a good record, And I think if people just focus on the music and focus on, Peter singing, and just focus on, just the whole thing overall, and be happy that we have a Peter Criss record, then I think people will enjoy it.
Yeah, I think he tried this once previously, and back in '94 he tried to do like a hard rock album, but unfortunately he let the other guys in that band take too much of of the lead vocals. For example, if you listen to that Cat One record, you have a different guy singing quite a few of the songs, and I think you need the main thing with Peter at this point in time. To me, it's not his drumming, because we all know his drumming has deteriorated somewhat, but his vocals were great on that '94 record, and the little snippets we've gotten in the last few years, he still seems to carry a tune quite well. He can still sing it. So I'm looking forward to his vocals, and I know Mark is looking forward to a hard rock album. I sure hope he has a song like Hooligan or Baby Driver. That would be cool.
Yeah, there will be.
But in hindsight, looking back at his later albums, I think the best tunes he's made in the later years has actually been softer tunes. So even though it's a hard rock album, I surely hope he includes one or two a bit softer songs. And you might say, well, we all know about Beth and all that kind of stuff. Well, take a look at some of the records he's released, like the one in '94. There's one or two great soft songs on that one. And if you go back to his early '80s albums, you have a lot of great. He's a master at singing softer songs. So I hope, even though it's supposed to be a hard rock album, that he at least includes one or two songs where he can really shine on vocals in a softer environment, so to speak.
Daniel, I'm going to put it to you this way. You just said something that should guarantee that there will be at least one or two. He is a master at singing that sort of style. So if people know that, including like a record producer and something like that, someone like that, they will definitely use his strengths to his advantage. So of course, I think there'll be one, maybe two songs like that on the record. So I think that I don't think you should worry about that. I think that they'll definitely have something like that. But I think, don't forget, a lot of the people throughout the years have been announcing on the boards and saying that we want a hard rock record. Where's Peter's hard rock record? So this is sort of his way of saying, I have a hard rock record in me, and he put it out there, and to make those fans happy too. So of course he's going to put in a song or two like that's a ballad-ish as well, I think. But the main sell of this, of course, is going to be the fact that it's his first hard rock record in who knows how long, right?
I kind of hoping he's doing it the same way Dee Snider did a few years back. Dee Snider said like this. He could still sing, but he thought that I'm too old to write, up-to-date rock songs. So he let a bunch of younger guys, much like I think Peter has done for this record. I'm just guessing now, but like John 5 probably brought a few songs and to Peter, and Peter can put his stamp on them. And Dee Snider released the record. He didn't write any of the songs. He had, like his fans write them, and his fans are now, modern artists that know how it's supposed to sound. And he just put the vocals on the songs, and it was a pretty cool record. So I'm hoping for something like that, John 5 and all those guys come to Peter with ideas, and Peter can, kind of mix them
Steer
up
the
a little
ship.
bit. Yeah, steer the ship a little bit, but still the songs are mainly written by, contemporary artists. So that's what I'm hoping for, and we'll see what happens. What about you, Ken?
I'm just going to say that as far as his drumming, we don't know. I think it's probably going to be really good, especially if he's been practicing the songs. I'm sure it's going to be perfectly fine. I think the deterioration thing, that message is mostly came from Paul and Gene. So they kind of kept saying that stuff all over. Same thing with Ace. They kept saying that, oh, they can't play the drums anymore, can't do this or that. Sure, when you get older, you're going to lose something, especially maybe your power that you had and the energy that you had when you were, in your 20s.
Joints, right?
It's going to be different. I mean, yeah, and he probably has ailments from all those years of drumming. I'm sure of it. I know he's had wrist and elbow problems in the past, so I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure. The thing that I'm looking forward is to his style. His style of drumming is not your typical hard rock drumming, and it worked so well for Kiss. And I just want to hear that his style again, his swing kind of rock style, which was so good. So
that's a great point, Ken. I think in the studio you're allowed to experiment and do things all over. You can do it once, twice, 3 times until you get it right.
Even with vocals.
Yeah, his vocals as well. So it's a different thing when he's doing it live. We all know, during the reunion era, it didn't sound like Winterland 75, of course. He played it kind of safe in order to get through that tour. It was well over 100 shows. He couldn't, go extravagant wherever. He couldn't go crazy on a show or two. He needed to, pace himself in order to make it through the tour. But in the studio, I surely hope they'll give him enough time so he can, experiment a little bit, try different fills, and then we could get a really cool record from Peter Criss with his, drumming on that record. Because as you pointed out there, Ken, it would be pretty cool to have him drum, because on some of his solo albums, he doesn't even drum himself. On his previous solo albums. So I'm hoping he's drumming on this one, but for sure, I'm just hoping he does all the vocals, because at this point in time, that's his go-to thing. He still has them.
I think that's probably pretty much a given. I think that the vocals are going to be him. I mean, there was no mention of any sort of guest lead vocals. Maybe there's somebody doing some background vocals like harmonies or something like that. But I think the main selling point of this is going to be the fact that he's singing, that it's a hard rock record, and that he's drumming it. I mean, Julian gave us that right from him, the source, that he was drumming.
The horse's mouth.
Julian has said many times that the drumming is very powerful on this record. So, and I believe that because, like I said before, you can do a lot of things now, technology-wise, through Pro Tools and other things, where you can make the drums sound good. Get yourself a couple of good compressors, get yourself some good limiters and some good equalizers, and you can make that drum set sound like they're like cannons. You know what I mean? So I think that I'm not too worried about that.
All right. So just to say, it's just, I guess, end this on we'll have to wait and see to see what comes of this. I'm sure it's going to be, Julian said he really enjoyed what he heard in the studio. It's not the finished album, but it's I think he listened to an album's worth of material or songs, so and he thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's all we know so far, but keep your ears posted, and go out to petercriss.net again. I think they're going to be doing updates on that as things get closer to the release date, so just keep an eye on that. So that was that was part of the news, and then news pretty much became the topic. But just a couple other things, I think, speaking of recording albums and that sort of thing. Evan and Nick were in the studio recording, I guess, and so we'll have to see what comes out of that. Hopefully maybe that'll come out too. Something, whatever they do. I don't know if they're doing a full album. I think they wrote a album's worth of material, from what I remember seeing some things, a list of songs. So that could happen maybe this year. I hope so. And then some other stuff, regarding other artists related to Kiss. Alice Cooper, original Alice Cooper band, has announced the new album, which will be out in July. And with the original members, they hadn't played, done a full album since 74 or 75, I think it is. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
And people have been wanting this, because the original band of Alice Cooper, that was the best Alice Cooper stuff, in my opinion. All that stuff. So I don't know. What do you think about that Alice Cooper thing?
Well, I've listened to obviously Black Mamba, the first single that came out. I'm also a big fan of the early stuff. Like I like $1 Billion Babies and Killer and School's Out and all that stuff. Of course, I love that stuff. It's fantastic. Mr. Ezrin is behind the board on this, and I have no issue with that at all because, like I said before,
Surprising.
Bob Ezrin works better with certain artists, in my opinion. So I think that's going to be fine. The first single is pretty good. I mean, I think I need to listen to it a few more times. On first listen, I thought sonically it sounded very good. The bass sound was really cool on that song. But I found that on first listen, I found it was very repetitive. It was like the same part, like for 4.5 minutes.
Right.
Nothing really changed in it, which was a little disappointing. But I think the more I listen to it, maybe it'll grow on me more. But I have a good feeling that the rest of the record's going to be pretty strong. With Ezrin behind the board, and I think with the kind of hype that's behind it, I think Alice knew that they wanted something that's going to be a standout. I believe John Rostad, Mr. Buxton, is playing guitar. I think that he's the surviving member. I don't remember who the other guitar player. What was the other guitar player's name? Ken, the original band. Michael Bruce. So he's not alive, is he?
Oh, he's alive.
Oh, he's alive, and Buxton's not alive, right?
I think Buxton's not alive.
Okay, so the one that's alive is going to be the one who's playing. Sorry, I got that mixed up. But so I guess Bruce is going to be doing all the lead guitar stuff. There's obviously going to be probably some guest people.
They got one guy to come in to do the Buxton type.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be. I don't think there's ever been an Alice album in the last 20 years that hasn't had at least 1 or 2 guest musicians on it. Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of. So for me personally, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I haven't went ahead yet and pre-ordered anything yet off of it yet, but because there's lots of other things coming out too. I mean, there's a huge Frank Zappa announcement just came out, a huge live album that's coming out. So I'm kind of rubbing my hands in anticipation to that as well, because it's a 1974 era concert. But getting back to the Alice Cooper thing, I think it's going to be an interesting record. And I know where this question was leading to, because I was reading the notes, Ken. How you were saying, Alice did this, why can't Kiss? That was your kind of train of thought, right? Why can't they do it? But I think that the dynamic is a lot different. I mean, Alice Cooper, to me, when you watch him, he loves being up there and he loves doing this stuff still. He loves bringing out the guillotine and stuff like that. And
he's never done any splits or round kicks either, so it doesn't matter.
The live stuff.
But the thing is, though, he's still very much in love with the music, love doing it. And we know that the last couple of years, we've heard Paul and them saying that they can't wait to get out of their costumes. They can't wait for the tour. I think their love of it has kind of gone by the wayside compared to somebody like Alice.
I get you, Mark. I think, but Alice Cooper, it almost works even better when he's getting older. He's lurching around the scene. He's never done any round kicks. He's never done any splits. No Paul Stanley stuff. So I think he can keep on doing this until the day he dies. It still works live, as long as he has his voice and he's not singing these high notes like Paul Stanley. He's always got that raspy voice going, and it still works.
It's genius.
So this new record then. Well, the only thing that I have in mind is that I hope they're doing it for the right reasons. When Kiss got back together in '96, the original members, it was about the money. It wasn't really about reconnecting, getting together the old band once again, and having a good time. So I'm just hoping that Alice and the boys are getting together because they want it. They feel that they need to sort of reconnect with each other and try to relive those early years. I hope that's the reason why they're doing this, and if that's the reason, this is great. If it's some sort of some way of trying to gain followers and sell more records, if it's about the money, it's no good. So and we don't know what the real reasons are, but I'm kind of excited about it, even though I'm for me, Alice Cooper was came on the map in the 80s with Poison and that kind of stuff. So I really never cared that much about the early stuff, but it's nice to see them reconnect. The original band. It's always nice to see that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Ken.
Yeah, I'll just say that I haven't ordered it yet because I'm kind of deciding which one I want. But I think the timing was right for them, as far as I heard from what Alice Cooper says, that they always kind of wanted to, I think, in the back of their minds, to do something, but it just never really it just never happened until just recently, I think. And I'm hearing, or I thought I read that some of this was recorded maybe some years ago too, when they did when they got together for that live performance where they played together
the record store.
I had the video of that thing, which is really good, but it's probably related to that. They kind of got together for that, and then things happened, and they started, the wheels started turning, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. C-Mac there mentioned, he said the last album, Road, was awesome as well. I do have that record. I bought it, and I thought it was decent. But the one thing I noticed, the difference between Alice solo and Alice in a group scenario, like with the Alice Cooper band, I feel like he can get behind his character more with the band. When he's solo, he's done some great records. Some of the '90s period stuff that some people don't like. I was a big fan of some of that stuff, like when Singer was
Brutal Planet was great.
Yeah,
I think
Brutal Planet and stuff was really
record.
good. But I think that the older stuff, he projects his character better in that, I find, through the songs and stuff like that. Yeah, and I think that's why, look, I've met Alice a few times. One time I met him at the airport in Los Angeles and asked him what was up, what was he doing? He goes, oh, he was going to Las Vegas to go play golf.
Of course.
So, he's a great golfer.
Great golfer, but I mean, let's face it, the man doesn't need the money. He lives a comfortable life. He has more than enough to live a decent life and go golfing whenever he wants and stuff like that. So I don't think he's doing this from that area. I really think that he wants to go back and go get one time back with the boys again. And let's make an old style record and something that people will love. And I think that people will really enjoy it from that perspective.
Yeah, and Mark, if you listen to interviews with guys who have worked with him, girls and guys, they're also impressed with his professionalism, and he's so easygoing kind of guy. It's not like Paul and Gene, the business type. Alice seems to be a real nice guy, an honest, real nice guy, and at times he's taking, people who has been out of the band for a long time, comes back for a tour or something because they enjoyed it back in the day. A few years back, he took back this guy, the Rambo, the guitarist with a machine gun guitar.
Muscles,
I don't know,
and everything.
The muscle guy.
Roberts.
Yeah, he came back when that girl was, playing with someone else. So they always come back to Alice because they like him and he likes them. And he seems like, such a soft, nice, and very funny guy. If you ever heard him tell stories, he's great at telling stories. Yeah. So he seems just like, great guy.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, he has a great sort of respect throughout the community. I mean, lot of musicians like Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine actually calls Alice Cooper his mentor, like his godfather in a sense, because when he was at his height of his drug problems, Alice Cooper was the one who came and tried to help him get out of it. So he's well respected throughout the music community for lots of reasons.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that story when he met Elvis? That's a great story.
No,
I don't know.
You haven't heard that? Well, he came to Elvis's hotel room. This was in the, I guess, early 70s or mid 70s. And Elvis wanted to meet him. And he came in and Elvis had a gun in the hotel room.
Oh,
and
sure.
He's
known for that kind of stuff.
You see, here's a gun. And he let Alice hold the gun, and I'll show you how to take the gun from. And he made some karate moves and picked the gun from Alice and put it on the ground. That's the way you do it.
That's pretty cool.
And Alice is such a great storyteller. You have to. And I remember him being on that Eddie Trunk show. What was it called? That metal show.
Yeah.
Great interview on that show. So go and watch some Alice Cooper interviews. Great stuff.
Okay. Before this becomes the Alice Cooper podcast, FAQ or whatever, we'll steer back to Kiss. Now, here's something new that I'm going to show you real quick.
Okay.
And you've seen this?
Yes.
Yes. Kiss has released a limited, I think it's like limited to 200 or something like that. I don't know. We'll see here. Kiss Army jacket. You can be part of the Kiss Army and go out into the field. And speaking of guns, Daniel, here, they should issue a Kiss gun too. Maybe, I don't know. With this, but look, I mean, it's military looking Army jacket, and look, you got all the sizes. 200 units worldwide, so there's not many of these. I'm sure it'll sell out. The people that love the camouflage or army gear, and it's made from recycled, 100% recycled garments and so on. So, what do you think of this jacket? What do you make of it? I mean, for me, I think it's cool. If I was younger, back in when I was in my 20s or 30s, I might buy it. I would have bought it or something. But today, no, I don't need it. I have these other jackets like this one here and so on. But I think it's kind of cool. But it's not for me. Again, they're only making 200 of these. That's nothing. So what do you guys think of that?
I don't know. I'm kind of against this thing they're doing, that limited, they make people buy it and pay too much for stuff. So I'm not into that. But I think
it's $150. I thought I saw. But
that's too much for that. You can buy one of a military site and put that patch on the arm and get away with it.
You can make your own.
You can make your own. But I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm hoping a few people buy that one, but not for me. What about you, Mark?
To me, it's I have no interest in it whatsoever. I mean, I was never really into the whole military camo sort of thing. I mean, the closest that I ever got to that is back in the Pantera days. I had the camo shorts like Dimebag had before, but I was never into that thing. I mean, I was more into like the battle vests, like the whole jean jackets with the sleeves cut off with the patches on there with the leather jacket underneath. That was more my bag than the camo thing. And plus, like Daniel made an excellent point. They're asking $150 for a jacket that's made out of used parts put together. You can go to any military store here in Toronto. They have one, an Army Navy store. You can buy that same jacket in multiple different sizes for under $50. Okay. And you can buy yourself half a dozen of the same patches and make it for well under like $100, well under $100 for sure. And so I think it's another one of these fishing and opening up Kiss people's wallets for not really good reason, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know about you guys if you ever did the military service over there in Canada and America, but when I was a young lad, we had to do the military service. So I was in the military for a year. I was a sniper. And I've worn that. I worn that stuff for a year, and that's enough for me. I don't ever want to wear. I was skiing through the north here. It was icy cold, and you had to wear this big gun on and you couldn't put it on your back. You need to have it, on your chest to be ready if anyone, appeared.
Sure.
And I wore the shit out of those clothes for a year, and never again. I say.
Wow.
So I've been there, done that.
Okay. Well, the other reason I played that video is it kind of leads into this other thing, which is kind of going to be like a main topic. Not a lot of time, but we can still do it. So regarding the,
we can go a bit longer than an hour. We don't have to.
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
Julian isn't here, so we can do whatever we want.
That's right.
You're the boss now, Ken.
Yes. Ooh.
Mr.
Okay. All right. So okay. I had this thing where I saw the Army jacket, and then it came to my mind. It's like, oh, Army, Kiss Army, and I thought, oh, you enlist in the Army, or you get drafted into the Army, and so I thought that the question, well, were you drafted or enlisted into the Kiss Army? When and how, and have you too, additionally, drafted anybody into the Army? But first, before you answer that kind of stuff, I'll show you that there's things like this. Of course, we had that's not that one I wanted. Why is that one up there? I didn't click on that. Okay, let's try this again. All right, there we go. So that was one way to get drafted, at least, into the Kiss Army. By Kiss was trying to tell you, hey, you can join the Kiss Army, blah, 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 blah. You have the Kiss album, you like this.
Which is a fan club, essentially. Right?
The fan club thing, and then the other one where they had the inserts, right? Kiss Wants You thing. And then I also had a couple of polls. This one here, which we got 163 people voted, and it looks like the majority, 64%, were enlisted. Yeah,
discovered on their own Kiss through TV, radio, and record stores, etc.
Right, and then the drafted was 36%. Someone or something turned you on to Kiss through persuasion. Sort of thing. So that's one of them. So mostly enlisted that one. Then the other one was on. Here we go on Facebook. 80% were enlisted. So it's more enlisted throughout the deal, and drafted. There wasn't many people who answered on that poll, but that was up a little less time. So, all right. Maybe we'll go between you guys first. I'll go with Mark. I think it's part of your story, but were you drafted or enlisted, and have you drafted anybody into that?
Well, I think for people who have watched this podcast know that I mentioned my older sister Jane quite a bit on this podcast, and because she's 7 years older than me, I was introduced to Kiss pretty young, because she was already into it when Destroyer was out, and Love Gun was. She got Love Gun the day it came out. I remember she said that she bought the vinyl the day it was issued. So so she, and that was being played there. So in a way, I was sort of enlisted, because she played it so much to me that I became a fan through her playing of it, But in another way, I kind of think of myself as being, that I enlisted myself as well, because after a while, she started listening to a lot of other bands, like Duran Duran and these other bands. So her listening to that sort of veered off. And then I discovered Kiss again through MTV, like when Lick It Up came out and stuff like that. I remember I went and got the 45 of Lick It Up when it came out, the single. And so I kind of was, I got myself back into Kiss again. So I got introduced to them at an early age. So I was sort of enlisted or drafted, so to speak. But then I enlisted myself later. Now, did I get anybody else in? There's one person I can think of, because most of my other musician friends were all Kiss people. You know, like I said, one friend of mine, Ted, his whole house was adorned with plaqued and framed Kiss posters all over the house. I mean, I've never seen anybody else have a poster of Unmasked hanging in their living room over top of the fireplace. Like, most wives would never allow that, but he just put his foot down and said, you know, I'm putting whatever I want here, and that's that. So, but everybody else, like I said, was about Kiss and knew about it. The only person that I got into Kiss was one of my best friends and drummers who was in my bands that I was in for a long time, including pile driver Jerry. He was never a Kiss guy. He never was into Kiss, but I convinced him by letting him listen to Revenge. I put on Revenge for one time, and he's like, "What's this?" And he recognized the voice, you know, Gene's and then Paul's. He goes, "This is Kiss." And he goes, "That can't be Peter." Like, right immediately, he said, he was like, you know, that's how much he knew about Kiss. He totally forgot about the Eric Carr era, right? So he was hooked after that, because as soon as he saw Eric start drumming and he saw the Kiss Alive 3 video and stuff like that, he was in, you know, with that. And he was like much like Daniel in a way, because when he heard that in '96 the original band got back together, he was kind of like, it was kind of like, you know, now his Kiss thing was kind of almost over. But he came and saw them with me in Toronto when we went to see him at the Sky Dome in '96. And I was shocked to hear from him. He goes, you know what? He goes, Peter was actually pretty good. He was pretty solid. He goes, he's not Eric singer, but he was very solid. He played he thought it was very good. And coming from him, that was something, because he was all about Neil Peart, Portnoy, all these big drummers and stuff like that. So for him to say that had to be something.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Daniel, how about you?
Well, I think someone obviously played a song for me, but they played several songs, and the one that stuck out was "Heavens on Fire" for me. So I think it was a pick of my own, my own choice, sort of saying. And the thing is, all things that you keep, that keeps your interest for a long time, are almost always your own choices. Kiss was a choice that I made. No one made it for me. I loved it. I discovered it. It wasn't my mom. It wasn't my dad. It wasn't anyone who convinced me. It came from within myself, I think. For some reason, I just loved it right off the bat, and it has kept on for several decades since then. And for me, it was always sort of like rooting for a team, much like Lonnie, who's usually with us on the show. He roots for some sort of NFL team.
Bengals,
the Bengals. And I guess he wants everyone to like the Bengals. To me, it was like that with Kiss. When I understood that, what the hell, I love this band. I want everyone to like and enjoy this band. So I tried to convince people. I played music. I showed them videotapes. I vividly remember, having a friend over and playing him that Exposed video, and fast forwarding to the Paul Stanley workout because I thought it was so hilarious. So when you had a VHS tape, it was kind of problematic to find where it was. So I fast forwarded for a while, and then I found it, and then I played to him, and I looked for a reaction, and he said like, "That's it." That's what you wanted to show me. I didn't manage to convince him. So for a long time, I tried to show people. And back then, my sister was alive, and I tried to, show stuff for her. She liked Forever and those softer songs. And in every class, I tried to show them Kiss. But Kiss wasn't in fashion. This is late 80s, early 90s. No one really cared. I got some traction with Revenge. Some people said, well, this isn't a bad song, Unholy and Domino and stuff like that. They kind of like that. But I was always, raising the flag for Kiss and waving the flag, trying that kind of stuff. But then a few years later on, I kind of, stopped doing that kind of stuff and came to the conclusion that, well, it doesn't really matter what other people feel about Kiss. I love them, and I love talking about them. Let's start a podcast and start talking about them. So that's how we ended up here, and we've done this for a decade now. So
I'm
that's
curious,
fine for me.
though. I'm curious though, Daniel, because I mean, I know a few times you had me come on line with your class that you had there in Sweden, and you have a lot of these, cool kids there that are listening to it and stuff like that. When you were in class, do you ever play music in your class? Like, do you ever play? Because what I'm thinking is that, like my sister, she would play the music. She never forced me to listen to it, but she would play it. And because you hear it all the time, nobody forced me to like it. But after a while, you started to find stuff that you liked in it. And then all of a sudden you became a fan of it. I was wondering if you did something like that, maybe to just play it and, don't even mention it. Don't even tell any of the kids, just play it as, music there just in the background. And if any of the kids would catch on to it that way.
Yeah.
Well, now that you mention it, this is sort of a secret, but I teach art, for example, and then I have longer lessons, like 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And first I give them the introduction. This is what you're going to do. This is what you need. Let's get started. And then I turn on some music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So for every year from, I have them usually for 3 years, the kids. Mm-hmm. I play some music for them, and I try to brainwash them a little bit. So I guess I'm still doing that kind of stuff that I thought I wasn't doing. You got me there, Mark. So I'm playing a lot of stuff from the 80s for them, and it's kind of interesting to see, because by the end of those 3 years, they start humming along. Can't you play that song that you played? So you're right, Mark. I'm still trying to brainwash people liking, and it's not only Kiss. I play a lot of 80s pop music as well, and because I think it's the best, and they should hear it. And it's so funny because can't you fast forward to that song? War Machine. I like that one. Can't you put that on? Well, okay. And when I teach music, as I have done a few years, one of the things is that they're going to present one of their favorite songs and why they like it, and pick stuff from the song that they really enjoy and explain how it's played. And then I always start off with showing War Machine, why I like it, and explaining the main riff and playing it for them. And so I guess well, Mark, you kind of got me there. So I'm still trying to brainwash people.
Okay, well, all right. So for me, and you've heard the story, one guy back in like 75, I want to say 75, 76, tried to show me that, again, he tried to draft me or something. He showed me the album cover of the debut album cover, and I said the whole thing about why are clowns playing music, that sort of thing. Anyway, because the only clown I knew back then was like, there's two clowns I knew. One was Bozo the Clown, and the other one was Blinky the Clown, which was someone
never heard of him.
A main guy it was a Colorado kind of thing. Anyway, Denver, Colorado back then. So anyway, that happens, and then I come to California, and then I have another friend, good friend, and he shows me the album cover of Rock and Roll Over, and I go, "Oh, that's cool looking, album cover." Yeah. Because I'm into comics and that sort of thing, and superheroes and whatnot, and so he puts it on. And I thought, oh, it's going to be mellow, because it's the I Want You starts off acoustic and all that stuff. And then, it goes crazy, right? The music also starts, the guitars come in, and it's like, wow, what's going on here? So I thought that was really cool. I thought, oh, man, this is kind of cool, And so I think he influenced or persuaded me. I think I went and bought Alive 2 after that, and I guess it was kind of like, oh yeah, well, am I a real Kiss fan or not? And more I heard that one, I became more Kiss fan. And then okay, well, I'm gonna see what else they got and get double platinum. And I say, oh, that's a lot, all the different songs through their career up to that point. and then I start buying the rest of it. So I knew I was like hooked. After that, I was like, okay, every album was like good. It has good stuff on it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. I still think he drafted me one way or another, but that's how that happened. Then, though, a couple of years later, I want to say 81, where I worked at the time, it was fast food back then, joint, and I had a friend, and I used to play tennis with, and he was listening to stuff like Styx and whatnot. And I thought, he's like, oh, I like Styx. And I'm like, no. I was like, no, you need to listen to Kiss. You need to listen to Kiss, because it's going to blow you away. And I can't remember what I put on for him at first. It was probably Rock and Roll Over or something like that.
Good choice.
I got him hooked, and he went to those shows. He definitely went to all the same three Preachers shows with me.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the other 80s Kiss concerts that I went to. We were like, we went to all those concerts together. Good buddy of mine. And so I think I drafted him, definitely into the Kiss Army. I don't know how big of a fan he is still. I'm sure he still likes Kiss, but I don't think he wasn't as crazy as me about it. I don't think, not quite as crazy, but he really enjoyed them.
I wonder if he still likes Styx.
I'm sure he does. Styx is fine. Styx is fine. Back then I didn't, I was like, but I like more Styx more now than I did back then, at that time. So, all right. So there you have it. We had a pretty, went a little over. A lot of the show was, what do you think about Peter Criss coming back with a hard rock album? And are you looking forward to it? What are your thoughts about it? Post it on the board or YouTube. Leave your comments there or anywhere else that you listen to this podcast. Also, hey, I know a lot of you guys answered the question of whether you're drafted or enlisted, and did you? And there's a lot of good stories on the board around that poll where they say, oh, my brother did this or that, or I saw Paul Lind on 76 and
Halloween special.
All different stories. There's actually a lot of good stories on that under that poll about drafted or enlisted, which was enjoyable to read. So thank you all for your posts on that.
So go to KissFAQ.com and check that out.
Yes, do that. And so one other thing is, I would say thank you for Julian for getting on here at the beginning and letting us know about the firsthand of what happened with Peter Criss and his meeting with Peter Criss and that sort of thing, and the award. Congratulations to Peter Criss on that Raven Foundation Legacy Award that he received. So congratulations to Peter on that, and his new album forthcoming new album that's going to be coming out. So look forward to that. I look forward to it. So thank you everyone for once again checking us out, and I think hopefully everyone here will be back next week.
For sure.
So I need to end this stream.
Yeah, let's see if you manage to do that.
I'm going to try, because last time I didn't do too well, but we'll try it now. All right. See ya.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today.